A news conference will be held in Dallas later this morning. The recent shootings involving police could have a big impact on the race for the White House as well. Political analyst Dallas Jones joining us this morning to talk about some of these things. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Doug Luzader just talking about President Obama headed to Dallas. This is part of the job in incidents like this. Is there a danger to him and his message becoming political? He touched on that last week in response.
Well, I think at any time, this is a really tough time for our country, and the president is going to have to make a push to really unite our country. As you know, he has canceled the final couple of days of his European trip, stood up the King of Spain because of what was happening here in the country, and the need for him to call for unity. And so I think that will be the angle. This president is very good at uniting our country in times like this, and I expect nothing less from him tomorrow.
Now let's talk about the candidates who want his job. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump suspended their campaigning over the weekend in response to Dallas. So what do you think of how they handled this?
Well, I would say both candidates were very careful in their approaches. I actually have to applaud Donald Trump in this particular instance, in the sense that he didn't do any off-the-cuff comments that
seemed very measured.
Very measured, very almost presidential in his message. There was a blunder that was talked about a lot, in the sense that in his first set of comments there was no name mentioned of the Minnesota and Baton Rouge shootings.
Right.
However, both he and Hillary Clinton were very controlled in their message not to divide the country even more.
All this happens on the eve, essentially, of the national conventions. Republicans up first in Cleveland. What expectation do you have that this becomes part of the backdrop and overshadows whatever's happening inside the arena? It
will and should play a huge role. I think you're going to see lots of protesters, probably on both sides of the issues. Some people see this as an issue of you know, the Black Lives Matter movement versus the police, and to support one is not to support the other, when actually, you know, these are probably two separate issues. You know, black men shouldn't be gunned down in the streets, and neither should police officers. And so I think that's the conversation that people will want to see had around both of these conventions.
I was going to ask you, do you expect that this continues in Philadelphia as well when the Democrats meet a week after that? Is it still fresh enough in people's mind, do you think?
Absolutely. I think both parties have to come together to figure out common sense public policy solutions to all these issues. Men and women in blue that get up to go and serve our community should make it home at night, and certainly motorists, African Americans like myself, should be able to drive down the street and not be concerned about whether or not we will make it home at night. And so we're going to have to continue to have these dialogues, you know, not only over the next couple of weeks, but in the long term.
It needs to be a lasting conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it possible for meaningful conversation? I've been to some of these conventions in the past, and I imagine you have as well. Is it possible for meaningful conversation to come from a gathering like this?
Well, I mean, political conventions are really meant to be a show, if you will, a kickoff, a bully pulpit for party messaging. And so around this particular issue, I wouldn't expect a lot of bang to come out, but I would expect it to be addressed from several of the speakers in the conventions, one way or the other.
Let me ask you real quickly before I let you go. Bernie Sanders has announced he will campaign for Hillary Clinton. Help for her?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Secretary Clinton is still trying to make a decision upon her vice presidential running mate, and the push from Sanders will help to bring that progressive base that he's helped to really fuel over the last year and a half. A few of those over to her side. It's a monumental step in her campaign out of the primary into the general.
We'll see how it plays. Dallas Jones, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
That was great to be with you.
Breaking news.